First, getting started is incredibly simple. You just open up Sales Call Intelligence right from your dashboard, paste a transcript or upload an audio file, and simply hit Analyze. That's literally it. The MCOS protocol hands you verified, accurate deal intelligence in less than 2 minutes, setting you up perfectly to dive straight into your executive dashboard next.
First, let's dive into the headline metrics and visual status indicators. Your primary metric is the deal score. It's a 0 to 100 rating that weighs budget, stakeholder alignment, and urgency, pulling evidence straight from the transcript. Right alongside that score, you've got color-coded alerts. Urgency flashes red for hard deadlines, while win probability shows green for favorable dynamics. There's also a budget-qualified green check mark, but it only activates if a specific dollar figure was explicitly confirmed on the call. Finally, we get to the ultimate payoff, the key insight. Consider this your definitive one sentence for your manager. It's a highly distilled, specific takeaway pulled directly from the conversation's true context, rather than just some generic summary. That's your executive dashboard.
This is the brief on the MCOS stakeholder map. You know, the MCOS sales intelligence pipeline basically takes your raw discovery calls and turns them into a literal battle map, categorizing every single person on the call so you instantly see the balance of power in your deal. First up, we're setting the board. The system uses these smart Layer 3 agents to sort everyone into 3 core roles: champions, decision makers, and blockers, all based on their actual sentiment and authority. And what's super cool here is that high influence isn't just some separate bucket. It's actually a critical trait tracked across all groups to pinpoint who literally gates the deal. Think of it like a completely automated chessboard where the AI instantly tags your kings and knights based on how they actually behave, showing you exactly who drives the outcome. Second, let's talk about empowering your allies, your champions. The deterministic Layer 2 extraction grabs the exact why behind a champion's support. And because it pulls verbatim quotes, there's absolutely zero AI hallucination here. I mean, why guess what your champion likes when you can just copy-paste their exact words right into your follow-up email to drive some serious urgency? Finally, you've got to manage the red zone by neutralizing your blockers. Instead of getting blindsided, the system proactively flags active and open blockers along with specific behaviors, like, say, express skepticism about ROI timeline. Knowing those flagged concerns ahead of time, that lets your team perfectly prep for objections before the next call even happens. Next, what's actually hurting them?
This is the brief on the MCOS deal strategy. You know, the MCOS sales intelligence pipeline transforms raw discovery calls into actionable intelligence, and we're looking at how to map exactly what a prospect says into a winning deal strategy. First, let's look at the pain. It's ranked by severity: critical, high, medium, and low, so you know what's keeping them up at night. Each pain point includes a business impact statement and a verbatim quote from the call as verified proof, like, "We're losing $3.2 million a year in empty miles." Because the system uses deterministic extraction, this is 100% ground truth, not an AI hallucination. It's literally like a doctor diagnosing a patient using the exact symptoms they just described. There's no guessing, just verified pain. Second, let's flip the coin and look at the opportunity. What can you solve? Well, opportunities are ranked by priority: immediate, short-term, medium-term, and long-term. You need to differentiate between opportunities backed by a specific potential value in dollars, verified directly from the call, and those categorized by their broader strategic intent, like revenue growth or efficiency. So what can we actually solve right now versus next quarter? Finally, actionable recommendations. The description field for each opportunity provides a tailored, actionable recommendation based on the actual conversation. If the prospect mentioned evaluating cloud TMS vendors, your approach will directly reference that vendor conversation. Let's be real, generic sales advice is useless. The real power here is that the AI builds a custom playbook entirely from the prospect's own context. Pain points tell you what to lead with, opportunities tell you what to propose. Match them together for a strategy grounded in their own words. This is the brief on using AI to extract budget, ROI, and urgency from sales calls. The MCO's sales intelligence pipeline transforms raw sales transcripts into actionable, hallucination-free financial and timeline data to build an airtight business case. It's a natural progression, really. First, we find the money, then we justify the spend, and finally, we force the action. First, the system deterministically extracts the exact approved budget range, like $500K to $1 million, directly from the transcript, so there's zero manual entry. It also uses stakeholder analysis to pinpoint the decision authority, grabbing the specific name and title of the person controlling the checkbook. Think of this as instantly locating the wallet and the exact person holding it. Second, we define the cost of inaction as the total annual cost of doing nothing, because every month delayed is quantified money lost. We contrast this with the ROI expectation, which estimates a 25% savings potential of the total problem cost. Crucially, the system services the ROI quote, direct financial quotes straight from the prospect. I mean, why try to convince them with your own math when you can just copy-paste theirs? It's literal ammunition for proposals. Finally, we extract the decision deadline by looking for forward-looking events, like board meetings or renewal dates. It maps out color-coded urgency levels, red for critical, orange for high, and yellow for medium, driven by priority problems and critical risks, like a customer threatening to leave. This essentially serves as the deal's internal clock, using the buyer's own critical risks to create immediate pressure to act. Next, what technology do they need? This is the brief on AI-driven sales intelligence. The MCO's pipeline basically takes a raw sales call transcript and transforms it into actionable deal intelligence, showing exactly why knowing your technical and competitive landscape is absolutely crucial. Ever wonder why a seemingly perfect deal suddenly dies? Well, the hidden landmines were probably buried right there in the call transcript. First, the technical landscape. The system maps everything the prospect says about their current stack, specifically zeroing in on tools like MercuryGate or Samsara. Finding technical constraints like, say, a lack of APIs or relying on a 7-year-old server is literally like sweeping for landmines that could completely stall your implementation. Second, competitive differentiation. So knowing their tech is step 1, but knowing who else is trying to integrate with it is step 2. You might think just tagging a competitor's name is enough. No way. The real gold is capturing the why behind previous vendor failures, like consultants delivering unused reports. Matching your proposal directly to their specific evaluation criteria lets a rep speak their exact language. Finally, risk-adjusted deal scoring. Look, tech and competitor data are just noise unless you measure the actual threat to the deal. The Risk Factors module's severity ranks risks as critical, high, or medium, and applies specific, math-based point penalties to the deal score. We're talking minus 10 points for a critical compliance risk, or a massive minus 30 points if the decision-maker is an active blocker. It transforms the deal score from a fluffy vanity metric into a hard, math-based reality. Their tech stack, their competition, and their risks, all mapped. Next, the implementation roadmap. This is the brief on the AI-generated strategic roadmap. We're diving into how a raw sales discovery call is instantly transformed into a concrete, multi-phase implementation plan, turning conversation into immediate project momentum without any fluff. So how exactly does an AI build a reliable project plan without just making things up or hallucinating? Well, first, it's assembled, not drafted. It doesn't rely on AI creativity. It's strictly assembled from Layer 3 opportunities extracted by the Opportunity Finder agent and precisely sequenced by the Layer 4 roadmap generator. Think of it like building a house with pre-verified Lego bricks of ground truth from the call, rather than painting a blank fictional canvas. Second is strategic phasing. It walks through a 3-phase logic, heavily focusing phase 1 on quick wins. These are high-impact, low-effort opportunities identified by the L4 protocol, like deploying a tracking portal in just 4 weeks. Now, you might ask, why not jump straight to the big tech overhaul like a TMS migration? Well, because phase 1's quick wins are absolutely crucial to build immediate project momentum and earn the budget for phases 2 and 3. Third, accountable next steps. The recommended next steps section generated at Layer 4 aren't vague ideas. They're specific, assignable tasks, complete with an action, an assigned owner, a priority level, immediate, short-term, medium-term, and a clear rationale. We're talking specifics, like getting a data inventory from the IT director by Feb 6th.
This is the brief on exporting sales intelligence. You know, our system turns raw sales calls into actionable data, but the real magic is how you can instantly grab that structured intelligence and actually put it to work. First up, the client-side intelligence brief. When you hit the brief button, your browser instantly downloads a structured markdown file. No server delays, just boom, it's there. It has your complete deal analysis, executive summaries, stakeholder sentiments, financials, the whole shebang. So why Markdown? Well, think of it as a universal adapter. You can drop this directly into AI tools like Claude or Gamma. The AI handles the pretty visual layout, but because it's locked to your exact transcript data, you get instant factual slides with literally zero AI hallucination. Second, let's talk machine-ready graph exports. If that first brief was for your slide deck, these server-side exports are built for your machines. We're talking a graph JSON export for custom node and edge analysis, plus a Cypher script packed with native Neo4j statements. Basically, you can import it straight into a database for immediate custom mapping. Finally, we're talking about total ownership of the full data asset. We're finally shifting away from those clunky dead-end PDFs. Instead, you get a full JSON report for deep, structured financial records, structured intelligence you own and transform. Next, the knowledge graph itself. This is the brief on Knowledge Graph Basics. Simply put, the Knowledge Graph transforms your complex sales discovery calls into an interactive, visual map of the entire deal. First up, let's look at the connected deal. We're not talking about some static spreadsheet here. It's a living ecosystem. The graph represents the entire deal as a network of data points, called nodes, and their relationships, or edges. And it's literally alive, settling via a D3JS physics simulation featuring force link and force many body. So, as you physically drag and zoom, you can actually watch these nodes naturally attract and repel each other based on their connections. Second, we have strategic navigation. You can easily cut through the noise by toggling 8 distinct edge categories, including financial, risk, and organizational. Isolating financial edges lets you literally follow the money, while toggling risk edges lets you instantly isolate risks threatening specific use cases. Why sift through hours of transcripts when you can just flip a switch to see exactly what threatens your bottom line? Finally, let's zoom in on provenance through properties. Clicking any single node instantly reveals its specific properties, stuff like stakeholder sentiment, risk severity, financial impact, and priority. And here's the cool part. These details are derived directly from the MCOS pipeline, specifically Layer 2 deterministic extraction. This isn't just a pretty picture to look at. It's an unhallucinated ground truth audit trail where every single number or claim traces right back to an exact quote. Ultimately, this setup transforms all that raw data into a fully verifiable, navigatable deal strategy. Every dot is a data point, every line is a relationship. This is the brief on graph visualization and deal exploration. We're looking at how the MCOS Knowledge Graph portal magically transforms raw sales call transcripts into an interactive visual map of every single relationship in your deal. First, the force-directed layout is your relationship lens. Think of it as a magnetic web. It uses a D3.js physics simulation where nodes cluster organically by relationship strength. Stakeholders pull naturally toward the pain points they raised, and competitors drift near evaluation criteria. Tighter clusters mean stronger connections. But what if you need to see who actually holds power, not just how things connect? Second, the radial layout is basically your deal's solar system. It reveals the power structure in a 6-ring orbit. Ring 0 is the company right at the center. Ring 1 holds stakeholders, 2 is use cases, 3 is budget, 4 covers risks, and competitors sit out on the edge in Ring 5. The closer to the center, the more central to the deal. But sometimes you gotta block out the noise to find the money. Third, let's talk strategic filtering. How do you find exactly what's threatening your funding? Well, toggling 8 node types lets you isolate specific deal dimensions. Turn off everything except stakeholders and budget to instantly see who controls the money. Then pop risks back on to see what threats sit directly between your champion and that funding. Once filtered, you need to know what these nodes actually say. Finally, node interaction makes it all totally tactile. Just hover over any node for a quick read tooltip or click it for a full detail panel. Plus, typing a name like Marcus instantly zooms you directly to his node, highlighting his entire relationship web. Two layouts, filtered views, and every node clickable. Next, talk to your graph. This is the brief on Graph Chat and AI transparency. We're looking at a new sales intelligence tool that answers your deal questions by querying a verifiable map of your actual call data, completely eliminating AI guesswork. First, grounded intelligence. This chat doesn't just generate a quick response from a language model, it actually queries your knowledge graph, a structured web of your data first. It uses local BFS RAG at depth 2. Sounds like jargon, right? Just picture the AI standing right at the center of your question and taking exactly 2 steps out in every direction on your data map. It uncovers real blockers and risks before it even starts forming a response. So now that we know how it finds the data, how do we prove it? Well, second is the glass box approach. How often do you just blindly trust an AI's answer? Exactly. Here, you can open the AI reasoning or cipher query panels to verify the exact database retrieval logic the AI used to find relevant notes. Absolute full transparency. But for those who don't really want to read database queries, there's a way to literally see the AI's thought process. Finally, trace visualization. You get this golden trace, specifically hex code FFD700. Every single data node the AI referenced in its answer actually pulses with a circle animation. It's kind of like looking at a glowing GPS route of the AI's brain, giving you undeniable visual proof of the exact logic path it traveled to get your answer. AI that shows its work. Next, multi-call intelligence.
This is the brief on multi-call intelligence. Because B2B deals never close in a single conversation, the MCOS system merges every follow-up call into a single evolving intelligence graph to show you exactly how your deal is progressing. First, think of the knowledge graph as a living data asset. Every time a new transcript is appended, which costs 1 credit per append, the graph instantly expands. It extracts new use cases, risks, and stakeholder insights, connecting them directly to the existing data. It's just like building a living detective's case file. Every new interview automatically weaves new evidence into your existing web of connections rather than starting from scratch. Second, let's look at tracking deal evolution. Picture a stakeholder who was just an influencer on call 1, but evolves into a champion on call 2. So what happens to the old data when things change? The system relies on smart merge logic. While point-in-time metrics like sentiment or budget update to the latest values, the underlying quote history and participants are unioned together. This perfectly preserves a complete, unhallucinated audit trail. Finally, we have the temporal scrubber. This UI tool filters the graph timeline. Clicking call 1 shows the initial deal state. Clicking call 2 isolates the changes and delta badges, like entirely new pain points. Clicking alt calls reveals the full merged picture across all dashboard modules. It's basically a time machine for your deal, allowing you to scrub back and forth to pinpoint the exact moment the momentum shifted. Multi-call intelligence. Next, managing your deal. This is the brief on human oversight and corrections. You know, AI is absolutely incredible at pulling data out of your sales calls, but hey, it's not flawless, right? So we're going to look at exactly how you step in, correct the AI, and instantly update the health of your deals. First up, let's talk about the dynamic deal score. I want you to think of this kind of like a live credit score, but for your deal. It's a real-time calculation based on the classic BANT framework, so budget, authority, need, and timeline. Each of those 4 pillars is worth exactly 25 points. But what actually happens if the AI just mishears a crucial detail? Well, second, that's where the 6 correction types come into play. When you spot a mistake, you can easily override the AI using what we call deal notes. There are 6 specific protocols here. For example, you can quickly update a budget figure, mark a stakeholder as a blocker if they're suddenly getting cold feet, or even flag a brand new competitor. And listen, these aren't just sticky notes. These corrections literally mutate the underlying graph and instantly change that BANT scoring math we just talked about. Finally, we've got the audit trail. Since multiple people on your team might be tweaking the same deal, the system keeps a pristine record inside your correction history. Every single change gets a timestamp and a sequential tracking number, something like AD001. This ensures total team accountability.
You'll always know exactly who refined the intelligence and when, all while the AI's original analysis stays safely preserved right underneath. AI intelligence, human oversight. Next, what if scenarios?
This is the Brief on Deal Score simulation. You know, sales deals rarely go exactly as planned. So instead of just kind of guessing the impact of a slashed budget or a slipped timeline, this tool actually lets you simulate the damage before it happens. Think of it like a flight simulator for your sales pipeline. First, before you can play around with the score, you got to know how it's calculated using transparent math. The system awards 25 points each for budget, authority, need, and timeline, your classic BANT, to get to 100. But watch out, because penalties will totally drag this score down. For instance, if a decision maker suddenly becomes a blocker, boom, that's an immediate 30-point penalty. Second, now that we know the math, here is how you test it. Just hop over to the Scenarios tab. This is where you can model those what-if situations, like what happens if that decision maker actually turns into a blocker? Well, you can watch the deal score plummet from an 85 right down to a 55 instantly. And I mean instantly, with zero lag, because it uses client-side calculations. Finally, once you've modeled the disaster, here is how you save the solution. There's this awesome Save As Scenario feature natively built right into the graph chat. Basically, when the AI chat provides deal strategy advice, hitting this button persists that intelligence as a saved, comparative model that you can stack up against your other possibilities. Instant math. No guessing. That's your competitive edge.
This is the brief on the MCOS Sales Intelligence Pipeline. We're wrapping up our training series by looking at how a raw discovery call transforms into a living, auditable deal intelligence system that actually helps you win. First, the foundation. Your transcript passes through a 4-layer protocol stack. The real game changer here is Layer 2's deterministic extraction. Think of it like a strict court reporter. It only records exactly what was said, pulling exact dollar figures, quotes, and entities with absolutely zero AI hallucination. This unshakable ground truth generates your deal score, builds a stakeholder power map, and ranks pain points using actual transcript evidence to calculate the true cost of an action. Second, the intelligence layer. Everything connects in a visual knowledge graph, featuring organic and radial layouts, plus a fully transparent AI chat. It maps out tech stacks, dings your deal score for risks, and tags competitors with their past failures. Since deals evolve, you can use the temporal scrubber to track shifts across multiple calls. You can also add deal notes for human oversight, or hit the Scenarios tab to instantly simulate BANT, budget, authority, need, and timeline. Like, what happens to the score if we lose the decision maker? Finally, the differentiators. MCOS pairs that zero hallucination math with a 9-phase validation pipeline, including an adversarial debate before any data even hits your dashboard. Every deal no correction leaves a fully auditable paper trail. Plus, you get LLM-ready markdown exports. Why lock your insights in a static PDF when you can feed structured data directly into an LLM to build your pitch deck? One transcript, 4 layers, a living knowledge graph. Upload your next call and see it in action.